Welcome to Chapter 5, Section 8, called Analyze Graphs of Polynomial Functions. Now, we're not going to do everything from this section. You're definitely going to want to have a calculator, a graphing calculator handy, so that you can accomplish some of these. To begin with, a local maximum is the highest part or point of a curve. And I'm going to put in here not the end. Okay, that means a graph that is this. The local maximum is right there. A local minimum would then be the lowest point of a curve. And again, it's not the end behavior. So this time, when I draw, or at least try to draw the exact same graph, ooh, not even close, the local minimum is this lowest point. All right, zeros, factors, solutions, and intercepts. Here's an equation. It's a polynomial function. It means the a sub n means a 2, x to the fourth, plus 5 x to the third. Okay, it's in standard form. The exponents are going to go 3, 2, 1, and so on. If k is a real number, then the following statements are equivalent. K is a 0 of the polynomial f. X minus k is a factor of the polynomial, which we've seen before. This is from last class, where when we had the zeros 2, 4, and 5, you made it x minus 2, x minus 4, and x minus 5. This was factored form. Solutions. K is a solution of the polynomial equation when it's equal to 0. K is an x-intercept of the graph of the polynomial function f. The graph contains of f contains k 0. These points here are actually 2, 0, 4, 0, 5, 0. They are points on a graph. This graph will have a point at 2, 0, 4, 0, 5, 0. That's what this is talking about. Now, we're graphing, and I'm only going to ask that you sketch a graph of this using your calculator. Now, what's nice is you can graph this on your calculator, or remember this. Here is a graph. Straight through. Barely touches. Does some crazy stuff here. Something like that. Okay. So, from the last class, we know that right here is 1, 0. And right here is an even number of zeros. And right here is an odd number of zeros. And up here are pairs of imaginary. Okay? Pairs of imaginary. So when I graph this, I already know that a 0, an x-intercept, is at 4. There is a point on the graph right here. I also already know that -1 is a point on the graph. And that -1 is, since it's squared, it happens twice. So it's either going to curve like this, or it's going to curve like this. So this is a good way of checking your work. So please graph this on your calculator and sketch the graph. All right, welcome back. You should have sketched the graph, and you should have seen that it came up, barely touched -1, dropped down a little bit, and then shot back up through 4. This is what your graph looks like. Now, there is a way to determine these or estimate those maximum and minimum values. We'll talk about it in a second, though. Actually, I'll put it right here on the side. So if you're going to estimate these points, I want you to look at your calculator. I want you to push second, trace, and now you should see a column that has value, 0, min, max, and these two right here, number 3 and 4, are what you're looking for. So push the button number 4. And when you push 4, you should see your graph, and it should say left bound. Now you're going to move the cursor. So you're going to use your arrows, and you're going to get to the left of that point. Basically, you're going to move to the left until you get to somewhere on this side of the maximum. Then hit enter. And it says right bound. So you're going to move your cursor to the right until you are somewhere to the right of the maximum value. When that happens, you hit enter. And then the word guess appears. When you hit enter again, it's going to tell you an X value and a Y value. Now your Y value may be kind of screwy. Your Y value may look like -6.5. But then it has this E -16. That means this number right here is scientific notation. It means -0.00000000000065, which is basically 0. Okay, so it's telling you that -1 0 is a max. Now you do the exact same thing. I would rewind the video, and instead of pushing number 4, so rewind, and instead of pushing number 4, do number 3 for minimum. And when you do number 3, so second trace, number 3, get to the left of that minimum, then the right of the minimum, guess, and that new minimum value should be approximately 2.3 -4.6. Those are the minimum values. All right, let's continue with this graphing. Here's an equation. I know 3 intercepts, 2, -1, and 1. The graph will go through these 3 points, and that's it. So when you graph 2 times x minus 2 times x plus 1 times x minus 1, when you graph this, you'll see an graph that comes up drops down, and goes back up again. There you go. And feel free to practice finding the max and the min of these points. All right, turning points. The graph of every polynomial function of degree n has at most n minus 1 turning points. Moreover, polynomial function has n distinct real zeros, then its graph has exactly n minus 1 turning points. All right, now that might not mean much to you. But right here, if it's, it means, here's a graph, there's a turning point, there's a turning point. There you go. So this has at most 3, since there are 2 turning points, 2 TPs, adding 1 says that there are 3 zeros. So you can look at the graph and come up with the degree just by looking at the graph, or at least an idea of what the graph is. Sometimes, though, there aren't that many. You could see a graph that doesn't really have any, but it still has 3 zeros. Okay. So let's graph these, identify the x-intercepts and the points where the local maximums and local minimums occur. So we're going to graph these. Let's see, do I have it? Oh, okay. So we're going to use a graphing calculator to graph the function. Notice that the graph of f has 3 x-intercepts and 2 turning points. 1, 2 turning points. Use the graphing calculator's 0 maximum and minimum feature to approximate the coordinates of the points. So now, again, when you push second trace, this menu will pop up. You will see these choices. Value, 0, min, and max. These are some of the things. And the process is exactly the same. To find the 0, push number 2 and get to the left side of the 0 and the right side of the 0 to give yourself a guess. And then you do it here for the left side and the right side and the left side and the right side of that 0. So go ahead and graph this. Pause the video, graph it, see if you can come up with the correct points. So you should have come up with these approximations. You could have chosen 1.5 here if you want, but these are approximately what you're looking at. Now pause the video again and look to see what the functions has for the local max and the local mins. Please remember you have to be to the left and then the right of each of these points that you're looking for. So again, pause the video, please. All right, so here are your choices. Maximum was 0. Now it didn't look like 0, but please remember that 0 was negative 1.269 e to the negative 6. That means its estimation was negative point. And I don't know if you can't get much closer to 0. So that is my estimation. All right, that is using your calculator. All right, now use a graphing calculator to do the same thing. So now you're looking at, so we've done this one. Now do this one. Do the exact same thing. Finish the whole problem, pause the video, finish the whole problem, and check to see if we get the same answer. All right, so here you go. So you should have gotten numbers close to this. You should have seen that the graph has 4 intercepts. 1, 2, 3, 4. You should have seen that it had 3 turning points. You should have used the 0, min, and max to find all of these points. This right here is the 0. This right here was the min, and then these were the max. And you should estimate again by doing left bound, right bound, and then guess. All right, so same thing right here. Use a graphing calculator to identify the x-intercepts, local mins, and local maxes of these graphs. So please feel free, pause this video, and you're gonna then write down the the fact that there should be 4 zeros or x-intercept. And if there is, then there means there are 3 turning points. And I want you to then write down what is the intercepts, what are the min and the max. So pause the video, see if you can get these right. Okay, so hopefully you paused the video and had time to pause before this popped up. But if you look at the equation, it should have 4 zeros. It should have 3 turning points. Or it could have 3 turning points at the most. So, looking at the second trace, and looking at the graph here, you should have noticed there are 2 real zeros. And this right here shows, so 2 real ones. But that means also that there are 2 imaginary ones. Okay? 2 imaginary ones. The min and the max, here are the minimums. Here are the minimum. And there's a maximum. And that's pretty much all you got to do. It's a lot of estimation for this. So we're going to work on this in class. All right? Try the guided practices that you can use your calculator for.